The camera industry is about to witness an absolute earthquake, and it is coming from a direction nobody expected. Behind locked doors and under heavy security, Nikon has just greenlit a secret prototype for mass production. This is not a minor update or a cheap facelift. This is the single camera body that could redefine the entire market for the next decade. For over 7 long years, millions of photographers have asked one burning question at every single trade show across the globe. Where is the true successor to the legendary Nikon D500? The original D500 was an undisputed king for wildlife, sports, and action photography. It offered insane speed, tank-like durability, and that crucial crop sensor reach without the massive full-frame price tag. When Nikon shifted its energy to mirrorless Z-mount technology, those passionate shooters were left stranded in the past. But according to massive, highly consistent insider leaks, that painful drought is finally coming to a thundering end. The mythical camera everyone is whispering about is the Nikon Z90, and it is built to actively reclaim the throne. To truly understand why people are losing their minds over this news, we have to look closely at the history of the camera market. Years ago, the DSLR ruled the world. Photographers relied on mechanical mirrors and optical viewfinders to capture split-second moments. In that golden era, full-frame cameras were considered the ultimate tool for image quality. However, action and wildlife shooters faced a massive challenge. Full-frame lenses that reached out to 600mm were incredibly heavy, massive, and expensive. They cost thousands of dollars and required a tripod just to support the weight. That is exactly why the APS-C crop sensor became a secret weapon for professionals. By using a smaller sensor, photographers received a built-in crop factor. A 300mm lens suddenly behaved like a 450mm lens. This gave shooters incredible optical reach without adding a single ounce of weight to their gear bags. It was a massive evolutionary leap for field photography. Nikon understood this dynamic perfectly when they built the D500. They did not treat it like a cheap, entry-level consumer toy. Instead, they took the blazing fast autofocus system from their flagship D5 full-frame camera and crammed it into a smaller, lighter body. They gave it a massive image buffer, a rugged magnesium shell, and weather sealing that could withstand a tropical downpour. It became an instant legend. For years, it was the baseline tool for every serious sports photographer sitting on the sidelines of major football matches. It was the primary body for bird photographers tracking tiny, fast-moving targets through deep forests. But then, the mirrorless revolution happened. Sony aggressively pushed into the market with electronic viewfinders and real-time tracking algorithms. Canon followed close behind, shifting their entire engineering focus to the RF mount. Nikon had to make a choice, and they chose to pour all their resources into saving their full-frame business with the Z-mount system. This strategic pivot saved the company financially, but it left a massive void in their product catalog. While full-frame users received incredible bodies like the Z6, the Z7, and eventually the groundbreaking Z9, APS-C users were left with entry-level options. The Z50, the ZFC, and the Z30 were fine for casual travel and vlogging, but they lacked the advanced tools professionals demanded. They lacked dual card slots, high-speed image buffers, robust weather sealing, and advanced subject detection tracking. Loyal Nikon crop sensor shooters felt abandoned. Many of them looked at their aging D500 bodies and wondered if they would ever get an upgrade path. Some grew impatient and sold all their expensive Nikon F-mount lenses to switch to rival systems like Sony, Fujifilm, or Canon. The demand for a high-end mirrorless successor never faded. It only grew more intense with each passing year. Now, the waiting game is finally over. The leaked specifications of the Nikon Z90 show that Nikon was not ignoring these photographers. They were simply waiting for the technology to mature to a level where they could deliver a true masterpiece. The biggest buzz online is centered around the brand new heart of this machine. Industry leaks strongly suggest the Z90 will pack a freshly engineered APS-C sensor sitting comfortably in the 33-megapixel range, paired with next-generation AI autofocus. However, highly classified reports go even further, whispering about a staggering resolution as high as 45 megapixels. A crop sensor with that much raw power would instantly leapfrog tough rivals like the Fujifilm X-T5, giving wildlife and sports shooters unbelievable cropping flexibility and razor-sharp fine details. Let us break down the pure engineering math of why a 45-megapixel crop sensor is such a massive deal. On a full-frame camera like the Nikon Z8 or Z9, you have a 45-megapixel sensor spread across a large physical area. If you switch that full-frame camera into DX crop mode to get extra reach, your resolution drops significantly down to around 19 megapixels. But with a dedicated 45-megapixel APS-C sensor, you get that incredible, dense resolution across the entire crop field of view. This means you can photograph a rare bird from hundreds of feet away, crop heavily into the image during post-processing, and still maintain enough fine detail to print a massive gallery-quality poster. It completely changes the economics of wildlife photography. You no longer need a $10,000 prime lens to get professional, highly detailed close-ups. Of course, packing that many pixels onto a physically smaller sensor brings up a massive technical challenge. Historically, higher pixel density meant smaller individual pixels, which could lead to increased digital noise in low-light situations. Photographers who shoot sports indoors under poor stadium lighting or wildlife at dawn and dusk are rightfully concerned about this. But insider reports indicate that Nikon is utilizing a brand new backside illuminated design with advanced gapless microlenses. This structural design allows the sensor to capture light much more efficiently than older generations of sensors. Combined with the raw processing speed of the latest X processor, the camera is expected to deliver incredibly clean images even at high ISO settings. It bridges the gap between high resolution and low light performance in a way that has never been achieved on a crop sensor before. To handle that massive resolution and keep up with fast-moving action, the Z90 is rumored to feature an advanced AI dual-pixel autofocus system lifted straight from the ultra-expensive flagship Nikon Z9. This means deep learning technology that instantly locks onto birds, mammals, fast vehicles, trains, airplanes, and human eyes without breaking a sweat. In the old days of the D500, photographers had to manually move an autofocus point using a joystick to keep it locked onto a subject. If a bird suddenly changed direction or a sports player made a sudden cut, it was incredibly easy to lose focus and ruin the shot. The Z90 completely removes that human error from the equation. The camera's brain continuously analyzes the entire frame at hundreds of times per second, recognizing distinct shapes and patterns instantly. Imagine you are standing on the edge of a marsh trying to photograph a kingfisher diving into the water to catch a fish. The bird moves at a lightning-fast pace, and water drops fly everywhere, creating massive visual confusion. A traditional autofocus system would easily get confused by the splashing water and shift focus to the background. But with the Z90's deep learning subject tracking, the camera understands exactly what a bird looks like. It locks onto the eye of the kingfisher before it even hits the water, tracks it through the chaotic splash, and keeps it sharp as it flies away with its prey. This level of autofocus performance ensures that you do not just get a few lucky shots, but a high percentage of perfectly sharp images throughout an entire shooting session. When you pair that intelligent brain with a rumored 15 frames per second mechanical burst speed, you get a compact monster that makes tracking fast subjects look effortless. For situations that require even more speed, the electronic shutter is expected to push past 30 frames per second in full resolution, and potentially up to 120 frames per second in lower resolution modes. This ensures that you never miss the exact millisecond an arrow hits a target, a baseball bat contacts a ball, or a cheetah lifts all four paws off the ground during a high-speed chase. Industry veterans are already calling this camera a mini Z9, and looking at these numbers, that nickname might actually turn out to be a massive understatement. The processing pipeline required to move that much data is truly staggering. Shooting at 15 or 30 frames per second with a high-resolution sensor creates a massive mountain of data every single second. If the camera's internal memory buffer cannot handle that data stream, the camera will suddenly freeze or slow down, forcing you to wait while it writes files to the card. This was a common frustration with older mirrorless bodies. To solve this, Nikon is reportedly giving the Z90 a massive, high-speed internal buffer memory. This allows the camera to sustain long, uninterrupted bursts without choking. If you want to stay ahead of the game, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video, and hit the bell icon so you never miss another massive tech update.